All right, get in loser, we're going healing. I know you're wondering why it had to be you. You keep wondering why God put you in all of these tough things and like trials and tribulations. This is your reminder that anything that happens to you in life does not actually happen to you, it happens for you. You were never being punished. You were just being prepared for your strength. The world will have you believe that you are just cursed, like you are just unlucky in life. What if I told you that the very things that you are trying to pray away out of your life are the same things that are building you up? They are building up your strength and your purpose and your voice in life. Pain is not just there to make you suffer. It's there to help you understand things on a deeper level. You need to become this version of you that is ready to meet everything that you desire in life. See the purpose or the lesson coming out of hardship. It just wakes you up to life. It shows you what you need to keep in life and what you need to get rid of. Whether it be people, friends, or whether it be a job, or whether it be your mindset. Literally nothing in life is ever random. Absolutely nothing is random, okay? Absolutely nothing is a coincidence. And if you trace it back, you will see that everything was written in such a perfect plot to make you become the very version of you today. Everything has a meaning, but sometimes you're just not at the emotional level or emotional maturity to just grasp that quite yet. The epiphany or the realization always just tends to hit you a while later after something happened. So you just need to have that faith in God that He will make you understand the meaning. Whether it be weeks or months or even years, like you'll just be sitting and out of nowhere, you will realize why that had to happen. He tests you because He knows you. He knows that you can handle this. Keep in mind that He understands you better than you understand yourself. Sometimes you don't even know yourself like that. Think about the way that God literally planned your life for you and has written your entire life story way before you were even on this earth. So what makes you think that you are not part of something greater? Your plan was never meant to work out because you are not the planner. You are just creation. Like you're not the creator, you are just creation. It's like, for example, when you're watching a movie and you have this idea about a character, you're faced with a plot twist at the end of the movie, but you had to watch what you had to watch in order for it to make sense, in order for the story to make sense. The reason why your brain doesn't recognize the blessing yet, or understand why things had to happen in the way that they did, it's because you are looking at life through the lens of desire and not wisdom. This is the difference. You just become so adamant to get what you desire in life, not knowing that what you desire might not even be good for you, and what you don't desire might be the better option for you. Next time something doesn't go your way, don't ask, why me, God? Rather than thinking that way, instead think to yourself, alhamdulillah for anything, God knows what I don't, so I'm just going to have complete trust and complete faith. Stop thinking that your unanswered prayers is proof that God doesn't love you, because it might just be His mercy. It might just be the biggest form of His love, but it's a love language that you don't even recognize yet. You cannot just expect that, you're gonna be loved in your own love languages. Other love languages exist, but you just don't speak the language. And if God left you to chase these things, or if God actually granted you what you want, it might have been way worse than you imagined. The outcome would have been something that you never even anticipated. You would have chased a career or chased a job that God knew that you weren't going to be ready to handle. You would have settled for lives and you would have settled for versions of you He knew that you weren't going to be happy in. You were being snapped out of that illusion that you were living in, or that fantasy that you were living in. You're not a victim of life. You are not to be pitied. You are just becoming somebody that is unshakable. Think about it that way. If your heart never got broken, you would have never learned how to protect your heart and how to never allow anybody to have it so easily. It had to happen so you can finally learn your self-worth. If your plans never got delayed, maybe you would have never learned about your true calling in life. You would have never discovered who you're really meant to be. If you have never been knocked down, if you never went through that breakdown, you would have never learned to stop leaning on things that were never solid to begin with, on shaky things and on temporary things, temporary people, or temporary jobs, or temporary goals. If you were never betrayed, you would have never learned the importance of boundaries. If you hadn't had that season of loneliness in your life, if God didn't intend to take away people from around you, distance everybody away from you, maybe you would have never heard your own voice. If you've never been in chaos, maybe you just wouldn't have craved peace so much and learned about the importance of protecting your peace. Think of it more like a purge. God is just purging everything that's unwanted out of your life. And it's perfectly fine to feel sad about it for a little bit. It's perfectly fine to grieve who you thought you had to be, or grieve people that you thought that they were going to be in your life forever, or grieve that relationship, or grieve a loss, so that in this sadness, you would learn the lesson. You can cry about it as much as you want. You can stay upset about it as much as you want. But just remember one thing, that God doesn't want you to stay broken. He just wants you to learn from the hardship and rise from it all. Before you're ready for like a big transformation in your life, or a big transition, or a big change in your life, expect things to go downhill a little bit, in which you will realize that they weren't really going downhill, but you were just looking at it through the lens of desire, not wisdom. You are not weak for hurting, okay? Don't be that person that invalidates their own feelings. But just don't call yourself a failure for your plan not going through, or for struggling in life, or for not being who you thought you were gonna be by age 30, like how society convinces you. People walking out of your life, doors closing in front of your face, dreams just crumbling. These are not failures. Life is not about what went through and what didn't. It's about the amount of times that you're knocked down and you're able to get back up. This is what true strength is about. That pain and that hardship, that betrayal, was never supposed to make you a bitter person, was never supposed to make you evil, was not supposed to make you like revengeful. It was just supposed to make you wiser. Nothing of that you went through in life was pointless. It was just a catalyst to your healing. Sit in silence for a little bit, take some time to reflect, see the lesson in it. Which part of me is being shaped right now? What part of me is growing? What part of me is shedding? And once you're done learning the lesson, simply just turn the page over. And the next day you wake up, it's a new day, it's a new chapter, it's a new page. It will now be in the past. You survived what you had to survive, and now you're ready for a new chapter. Look at it like a rebrand. Look at it like a revival, or repurpose, or you being reborn. I agree. Sometimes it's just hard to look at that wisdom when you're still in the midst of it all and you're just in your sadness. And sometimes it really feels that you're never able to get through this part of your life and you're never going to be able to overcome it. Sometimes it feels that you will stay in rock bottom forever, but it's never the case. Okay, it's never ever the case. Look at your role models in life and look at the people that you look up to. Nobody ever became the way that they are now without going through a fair share of hardships that life handed to them. Absolutely nobody just had it easy. You just have to have that faith that it will get better. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to stay down for just a little bit, but just don't dwell in it too much, because as soon as you change your perspective on some things in life, you will just realize to yourself, all this was happening for me. I needed these things to happen for me. Life was never supposed to go in a straight line. As perfectly as you planned it 10 years ago, if you fall off plan, then that means that you are struggling or that you're failing. You just have to stop looking at life through that lens of desire, desiring the person, desiring the job, desiring the goal, desiring the peace, desiring a certain amount of money. So don't beat yourself up so much for things not going your way, because at the end of the day, you were never meant to be in control. That was never your role. It's the same thing with anything in life. For example, if you're driving somewhere and you take a wrong exit and you're like, damn, now I'm gonna be late. Maybe that detour that you took was actually the destination, but you never really looked at it like that because you're desiring another path. But if you just go with the flow and you kind of let it be and just let yourself along the path that was planned for you, you're going to realize that maybe you're going to reach much more beautiful destinations than the one that you had planned out. When I resigned from my corporate job a couple of months ago, and because my buddy was basically forcing me to quit my job, and my nervous system was forcing me to quit my job because of the stress and the burnout, and it made me feel like I was behind in life. And I also felt like I was a late bloomer all my life. And it was only until I broke down and I stopped forcing things and I just let it be. I genuinely couldn't care less about success. And, me being like a very ambitious person, I genuinely couldn't care less about what was going to happen next in my life. I genuinely couldn't care less. All I was focused on was just getting my health back, was just healing my dysregulated nervous system. And only then my definition of success changed. Success was no longer about making a certain amount of money. Success was no longer about achieving the big goals that I set out for myself, that I had to achieve before 30. All of these goals were not actually my goals. It was just the goals that society convinced me that I needed. It's only up until I started healing, like my nervous system, and I started thinking about things in my life and reflecting on my life with clarity, only then I realized everything was written. Every book that I picked up afterwards about self-help, mindset and everything like that, me making videos on this YouTube channel, it was written. It was just like resistance. It was me resisting the plan that he had out for me. I was never going to reach the version that I am today till I stopped resisting and until I stopped being so adamant to make things go my way and my way only. You need to stop fighting against the direction that God is trying to push you in. You need to stop resisting. You just need to trust and let go and just have complete, utter faith that He will guide you. He will direct you in the most beautiful ways ever. You do not need to have it all figured out. Stop beating yourself up for what didn't go your way. Stop beating yourself up for the mistakes that you did, the confusion, all of those things. Just stop beating yourself up for it because everything was already written. Because God knows that your soul will get tired. He knew that you'd get caught up in this dunya, and this is why He never left your side. And so, this is why He sent you the things that you needed to hear at the time, whether it be a quote that you read that popped up on your FYP, that video that just brought tears to your eyes, the therapy session that you went to, or you asking Him to bring you closer to Him. All these things are just God's way of telling you, like, I'm still here, I love you. So stop overthinking the past, stop beating yourself up for mistakes that you've done. It was all written. It was all destiny, okay? You didn't mess up anything. You didn't ruin any plan. Trust in this phase of your life. Trust in the confusion because it will give you the clarity that you always needed. Have complete faith that one day it will all be okay.